what we're going to talk about is a little bit of anatomy. How is digestion supposed to, how is it supposed to work? We talked a little bit about the symptoms before, but what causes reflux and what, if anything, can we do to help it? So we talked about symptoms a little bit. Obviously, burning would be the main symptom that a person would have. But how about your blood tests? If you go to your portal and download your latest blood test, look on the blood chemistry, and I want you to look for a couple things. Number one would be total protein. Our functional range for total protein is between 6.9 and 7.4. If you're within that range, then that's good. But if you have low total protein, then that is a sign that you're not breaking your protein down well enough. If you have increased BUN, or blood urea nitrogen, that level is between 13 and 18. If that's out of range, that's one of the functional symptoms that we look for. If you have an increase in globulin, which is a portion of protein, if that's too high, I like that between 2.4 and 2.8. If that's too high, then that's also a marker that we look at for a person who might have reflux or poor digestion. So look for those things, and if you have these symptoms, then you probably have this. So here's how digestion is supposed to work. The minute that you begin to think about food, like me, I haven't eaten yet today, and I'm thinking about food right now. So just when you begin to think about food, your digestive enzymes, the digestive process begins. The salivary digestive enzymes come out, and your stomach begins to make stomach acid. So all you have to do is think about it. If you smell food, the same thing will happen. If you taste food, that will happen as well. So if you're someone who's chewing gum all day long, well, that's probably something you shouldn't be doing. I tell my patients, if you have to chew gum, and I tell my kids, if you have to chew gum, immediately after you eat your lunch or dinner or whatever it is, that's the time. You can chew it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But any other time of day, if you're fasting or if you haven't eaten, don't chew gum, because you're just getting your digestive system, you're like tricking your digestive system. You know, it's like teasing a dog, pretending to throw a frisbee or a ball, and you're actually not throwing it. It's pretty mean. Mean to the dog and mean to your stomach. So don't do it, because that gets that digestive system working. So after that happens, it begins to go down your esophagus, and the food gets into your stomach. Now, once it's in your stomach, it has to be an acidic environment. So your body will begin to produce, will be producing more and more stomach acid, to the point that your acid should be anywhere from 1.5 to 3 in its pH. So we want a highly acidic environment when we're digesting food. We don't want a highly acidic environment when we're away from food. So we want that acid in there so it can break up the food. And there's other things that the acid does as well, which I'll explain to you a little bit later. It also prepares your small intestine for the food to be able to come into it and then be able to be absorbed and then used by your cells, and for repair and whatever else needs to be done. So that's the way things are supposed to happen in our bodies. Now, the Western medical system for treating reflux is essentially just blocking the symptom. So the symptom is burning, which would equate to acid. So if we have burning and we have that, it probably is because there's too much acid. So let's block the cells that make the acid. The proton pump inhibitors, let's do that. I think it's the parietal cells. So that's the typical treatment for that. However, in the vast majority of cases of people that have reflux, it is not too much acid, it's actually too little acid. It's something that we call hypochlorhydria, which is too little stomach acid, which actually, as we age, our bodies begin to make less and less stomach acid, or HCl, hydrochloride, as we age. That's a normal process. So if you are someone who's taking one of these proton pump inhibitors, it is stopping that digestion from happening, stopping that acid from coming out. So if you have low stomach acid, you're going to have that bunch of food in that stomach that's not getting absorbed. The small intestine is going to say, no, we're not ready for this yet. It's not done yet. It's not done being broken up yet. That bolus of food will stay in that stomach and begin to ferment and putrefy. And that fermentation can kind of come up and bubble up and cause us to have some reflux. the sphincter as well, that lower esophageal sphincter, has to close when the stomach acid is somewhere between 1.5 and 3. So if we're not getting low enough in the pH, that sphincter is not going to close all the way, and then you lay down after you eat, and then the stomach acid that's supposed to be there is now going to go to places it doesn't belong. So it's very important that we have things happen the right way. We need to have not too much acid, not too little acid. It has to be just right, like everything else in the body. So if you are someone who's taking these proton pump inhibitors and you're not, or Tums or anything else, during those times of digestion, you're going to do a couple things. Number one, you're going to increase your risk of infection, because your HCl will kill pathogens. So when these pathogens are, let's say, a parasite, which are very common in human beings, if a person has normal stomach acid and a person sitting next to them is on a proton pump inhibitor, which one is going to be more likely to have that parasite get through and into their system? Obviously, the person with low stomach acid. So we want to have a proper amount of stomach acid to cleanse and sterilize our food. The other thing is minerals. Our minerals are absorbed in an acidic environment. So if we're decreasing that environment, that pH of the stomach, we're not going to absorb certain things, which is what makes me laugh all the time about certain over-the-counter medications that talk about how if you want calcium, take this specific medication because it will have calcium in it. But you can't absorb that unless you're in an acidic environment anyway. So it decreases the acidity of the stomach, rendering whatever calcium is in that to be not even be able to be absorbed. Keep getting these text messages. So that's the other thing. So minerals won't be absorbed. B12 also is absorbed through the stomach, an intrinsic factor. So that you can increase your risk of B12 anemia. And B12 is super important for energy and many other processes in the body. So low stomach acid is probably even worse than having high stomach acid. So if you are someone who's dealing with this stuff and you're having burning at night and you're suffering and you don't know how to fix it, well, what do you do? What do you do about this? Well, number one, you want to make sure you eat a good, healthy diet, a highly plant-based diet with moderate protein and good, healthy fats. Throw away the vegetable oils. Throw away the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Those are garbage. They oxidize easily and they cause a lot of problems in the body. Throw that stuff away. So number one, eat a good, healthy diet. Number two, I recommend your first test would be something inexpensive and easy like this. Now I know this is backwards, so I'll have some fun reading that backwards, but apple cider vinegar. So about 20 minutes before you eat a meal, take a tablespoon of that, put it in a couple ounces of water, mix it up, and swallow it down. If you feel burning from that, then you have most likely some damage to the stomach lining. If that's the case, then you're going to need to correct that stomach lining damage with a different product. I like to use Gastroven. That's what we use for people who have that issue, and you drink that before you eat, and you do that over a period of time until that stomach lining gets healed up to the point that you don't feel burning when you have apple cider vinegar. The other thing that apple cider vinegar will do is it'll help stimulate your body to make stomach acid as well. Now, if after the first couple of days you actually feel better by having this apple cider vinegar, then you're someone who could benefit by having some digestive enzymes that are inexpensive. So you take those digestive enzymes prior to your meal, and that'll help break down the food into smaller constituents so your body can use it and absorb it. And then at the end of the meal would be a good time to use something called HCl, betaine hydrochloride. Taking that is actually like taking stomach acid. So now you're actually going to be able to break down and get that food that you've just eaten ready to be absorbed by the body. Simple, inexpensive supplements that have a really, really high rate of success with getting people to not have reflux anymore. And in many cases, they feel so good that they can not even have to take their medication anymore, which has great side effects, because when you don't take that medication, you absorb your B12 better, you absorb your minerals better, and things magically start to get better. So that's what I recommend you do. So if you're someone who is suffering with reflux or burning or any symptoms like we talked about, share this with those people who have those symptoms. try out what I'm talking about. It's not expensive. If you have questions about what I'm bringing up, or have questions about the products, you can just leave them at the bottom of the screen, or you can email our office or call our office. I really want to help people get better. I don't want people out there suffering, because when you do feel better, then you're in a better mood, and then everyone's happier, and better things happen. So give all this stuff a try. Oh, the other one that I like to use, this is Digestion. This is what you take right before your meal. So those are things I take, all those products. I don't take HCl as much anymore because I don't really need to. Thankfully, I've never had stomach acid issues, but on days when I'm going to eat a high protein meal, if I'm going to have some grass-fed brisket, or if I'm going to have turkey dinner at Thanksgiving, I'm definitely going to eat some HCl during those periods of time too. So it's not a rule that you have to take it all the time, but when you're having a harder to digest foods, you probably should be taking HCl as well. So thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everybody's questions and everyone's likes and comments. So if you have questions, share them. If you like the video, push the like button, and watch us next week. Hopefully we'll be tuning in with something new. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet next week. Usually figure it out about 5 minutes before. And we'll get back to you at that point. So thanks again for watching. Have a great day.